During dinner, my grandfather asked, "Did you like the car I gave you as a present last year?" I replied that I hadn't received any car. Then my parents froze.
Part 1.
And the truth came to light. My name is Jake. I'm 23 years old. And for as long as I can remember, I've always been the son that nobody wanted around. It's not one of those dramatic stories of abandonment or domestic violence. It's worse. It's the story of a family that simply decided I didn't matter enough. My parents, Sarah and Robert, were always very clear about who the favorite was. My sister Madison, 2 years younger, was the princess of the house. She was the one who received the best toys at Christmas. She was the one who got brand name clothes. She was the one who heard words of encouragement when she got mediocre grades at school. I, on the other hand, could come home with a first-place certificate in Math Olympics and receive only a, "That's nice, but don't get cocky about it." I grew up accustomed to comparisons. "Look how affectionate Madison is," my mother would say when I tried to show affection. "See how spontaneous and fun she is," my father would add when I tried to tell some joke or interesting story. It was as if I were a poorly made draft of the person they really wanted as a son. When I finished high school with a 9.2 average and was accepted into 3 different universities, my parents barely looked up from the television. "University is very expensive, Jake," said my mother without even looking at me. "Besides, Madison will need support when her turn comes. She has a bright future ahead." At 18, while my sister got a new laptop to prepare for college entrance exams, I started working at an electronics store in the city mall. It wasn't my dream job, but it paid enough for me to support myself. I organized products, served customers, and sometimes even managed to make some good sales that earned me extra commission. The work was tiring, especially on weekends when the mall got crowded. I'd come home with aching feet and dry hands from handling so many products, but there was a certain dignity in it. I was building something on my own, without depending on anyone. Meanwhile, Madison continued living like a princess. At 20, she had never worked a single day. She spent afternoons at the gym, went out with friends for lunch at expensive restaurants, and always had money to buy whatever she wanted. My parents justified it by saying she was preparing for the job market, and that she was still too young to worry about these things. What intrigued me was where all that money came from. My father worked as an accountant at a small company, and my mother gave private English lessons a few times a week. It didn't seem enough to afford the lifestyle they led, especially considering all of Madison's expenses. The answer came when I was 19. My paternal grandfather William called to talk to me. He had always been different from my parents. When I was a child, he would take me fishing at the river that ran near his house, teach me to fix bicycles in his garage, and always listen to me attentively when I talked about my dreams and plans. "Jake, my boy," he said in that call, "I'm moving to Portugal. I got a good job opportunity there and I think it'll be good for me to start over." I was sad, but I understood. He had been widowed 2 years ago and maybe really needed a change of scenery. "But don't worry," he continued. "I'll always take care of the family from there. Every month I'll send money to help you all. I want you to be able to study, to have the opportunities you deserve." After he moved, things at home visibly improved. My parents stopped complaining so much about bills. Madison started showing up in even more expensive clothes, and they even renovated the kitchen. When I asked about Grandpa William's money, my mother said he sent an amount every month to help with general household expenses. I didn't question much. After all, I had my job and could manage on my own. But sometimes I wondered if part of that money shouldn't be directed toward me, since Grandpa had specifically mentioned my studies. Contact with my grandfather became sporadic. He would call from time to time, always asking how I was, if I was managing to study, if I needed anything. I always said everything was fine, that I was working and managing on my own. He seemed proud, but also worried. "You've always been a special boy. Jake," he would tell me, "you have a good heart and a determination that few have. Don't let anyone make you feel like you're worth nothing." Those words sustained me on difficult days. When I'd come home tired from work and hear my family making comments about my mediocre job or about how I had no ambition, at least one person in the world believed in me. On my 23rd birthday, to my surprise, I found a small cake on the kitchen table when I got home from work. It wasn't much, one of those supermarket ones with artificial frosting, but it was there. My parents and Madison sang happy birthday, with the same enthusiasm of someone fulfilling a boring obligation. "It's from Grandpa William," my mother explained. "He asked us to organize something for you." I was touched. Even from far away, my grandfather remembered me. It was more than my own family usually did. We ate the cake in silence, each one lost in their own thoughts, and then everyone went back to their normal activities. But in the following weeks, I noticed strange changes. My parents started showing off even more. My mother appeared with a leather purse that cost more than my monthly salary. My father bought a watch that I had seen in a mall window for an absurd price. And Madison was unbearable with her designer clothes and sneakers that cost a fortune. One day I heard my mother on the phone talking about a trip they were planning. "It'll be just the 3 of us," she was saying. "A little getaway to relax at the beach. Everything's already booked." When I found out about the trip, I wasn't invited. "There's no room for 4 people in the room," my father explained. "And you have to work anyway, right?" They spent an entire week at a 5-star resort, posting photos on Instagram of expensive meals, colorful drinks, and moments of happy family. I stayed home, working my normal shifts, wondering where all the extra money was coming from. Could it be that Grandpa William was sending more money? Maybe he had gotten a better job in Portugal, or received some inheritance. I tried not to think much about it, but curiosity was eating at me. The year passed slowly. My routine continued the same. Work, home, work, home. Sometimes I'd go out with some colleagues for a beer, but in general my social life was limited. I didn't have money for the expensive activities my family did, and I kind of got used to the loneliness. Madison continued without working, living her princess life. My parents continued treating me like I was a burden on the family, and I continued trying to prove I was worth something, even though nobody seemed to notice. When my 24th birthday was approaching, I wasn't expecting anything special. Maybe another cheap cake, maybe not even that. But then, 3 days before the date, my phone rang. "Jake, my boy, how are you?" It was Grandpa William's warm voice, which I hadn't heard in months. "Grandpa, what a surprise!" "I'm well, working hard." "Great, great. Listen, I have news for you. I'm returning to Brazil next week. I want to be there for your birthday." My heart raced. I hadn't seen my grandfather in 3 years, and now he was coming back especially for me? "We'll have dinner at the best restaurant in town," he continued. "Invite your parents and Madison. It'll be a family celebration." I hung up the phone with a smile that hadn't appeared on my face in a long time. Finally, someone who really cared about me would be here. I could barely wait to see Grandpa William again. When I told my family about the visit, the reaction was strange. My parents exchanged nervous glances, and Madison was quieter than usual. "That's good," said my mother, but her voice sounded forced. It'll be good to see Grandpa William again." I didn't understand why they seemed so uncomfortable. After all, it was Grandpa William who was funding their lifestyle. Shouldn't they be anxious to see him? But I didn't think much about it. I was too busy imagining what it would be like to reunite with the only person who had always believed in me. The day finally arrived. My grandfather William showed up at the front door in the middle of the afternoon, with that wide smile I remembered from my childhood. He was thinner, his hair grayer, but he had the same contagious energy as always. "My boy," he said, wrapping me in a tight hug. "How you've grown! You're a grown man." I felt an emotion I hadn't experienced in years. Here was someone who was genuinely happy to see me, who hugged me like I was the most important person in the world,